Hello everybody, Matt Builder back here. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the Quadruped. Now, something that some of you that are in the Quadruped or have competed in it might know is that it's a long distance competition, and the discs that we choose for that competition are limited and based off of what that particular venue, the Quadruped, allows. It has actually changed. This is 2022 season. It has changed a little bit this year because of some issues with the availability of certain discs from the pandemic. But with that said, we're going to talk about what kind of discs I like to use and why. In the Quadruped, I've had a lot of success, and that kind of rides on the back of a certain type of disc. My dogs, I've had 3 dogs now. This year I will be introducing my 4th dog that I will be trying to win the series with. I've played with 3 other dogs. My most accomplished dog in that has been Bazooka Full of Bonbons. She's a miniature Australian Shepherd. She's older now and not able to get out there for the long throws, but she is a 3-time series world champion, and she won a total of, I believe, 9 quadrupeds in the men's open division. So very accomplished for a dog that is about 17 inches tall. So give you a little idea of how fast that little dog is. Sunny was my most recent, and then Mambo, some of you might know Mambo. I've had varying success in her ability to catch, so it was a lot of work for her to pull out a series championship and also some wins. So I want to talk today about the discs that we use for this. So the discs that have been historically available for, I got some discs inside each other here, discs that have been historically able to be used. When the Quadruped first came out, there was only one type of disc that you could use, and it was because of the records. The creator of the Quadruped, Jeff Hoot, the disc that was available back then at that time was the Whamo Frisbee. You'll see it's right up there. It says Frisbee, but on the back of this it says Whamo. So back in the day, this was quite a few years ago, before my time even, the Quadruped started out as actually a halftime entertainment show, and it turned into an actual long distance series. So Quadruped series, or the series didn't really begin, but they were individual events. So back then, this was the only disc that you could use, and all of the records that started were based off of this disc. So in all fairness, they wanted to try and keep that as much as possible through the years to keep it fair for anyone who decided to come up and play later, since they were keeping records. So these discs came in around 110 grams, and they have a certain diameter to them. Okay. Well, that diameter is very similar to the next disc that became available, which was the Hero. This is 235. The Hero Air was the next disc that was available. When Hero came around, they started making these discs, and they came in varying colors and types, but the 2 that they were very prominent about at that time were the Xtra, which was the extra grippy, and the Air, which was kind of their flagship disc. So the distance series was the one that was used primarily. They didn't really have a freestyle that was available at that time, so the distance was the mainstay for it. So when I was first starting in the Quadruped, these 3 were the 3 discs that were available. So the disc that I used a lot when I was first starting out was the Xtra 235, and that's the distance. The disc that I have won a lot of events and has become the more stable disc in my bag for long distance in the Quadruped is the Air 235. Now, I still break out the extras, and I have even as early as last year for specific occasions. One of the older models that I had thrown of the extras is the one that I broke the 100-yard barrier with. That was actually with an Xtra 235. And that was on a very windy day in Kansas. Got a little help, but you have to be able to use the wind when it's coming around. On that day, a lot of people who didn't have the arm speed found that their discs were dropping really fast. So you got to be able to crank it, grip and rip it. And that's what I did. I gripped and ripped. I don't have that disc with me here today, but it is actually in my collection. I pulled that puppy aside and marked it up real nice, and that was Bazooka's catch over 100 yards. So some of the other discs that are now available for the Quad Series, I'll go over these real quick because I don't know how long they will be available, but this Zdisc, this is the lighter plastic Zdisc. The thing to watch about these though, because this Zdisc is actually about 112 grams. So give you an idea, 110 is your limit. So they definitely need to be weighed because this one comes in at 112. They do have some that come in under or at 110, and those are legal for the Quadruped at this time. Another disc that's very new to this year being available in the Quadruped is, you heard it right there, the competition standard. That is available or approved for the 2022 season in the Quadruped. And that's because of some shortages of some of the Hero discs based on some issues with plastics being able to be available. So the competition standard, as well as the Zdiscs, the CSs do come in. This is 107 grams. They typically do come in under. There's not a lot of worry with that. A disc that has been another option for quite a while. This one actually comes right in at 110 grams. This is the Superaero. So this is a more durable plastic, but it is also a very light plastic. Okay, so the thing I find about these, they're great discs because of their durability. What I do find is they may not puncture, or you might not have as many issues with that per se, but what you find is they'll become a lot less stable the more beat in they get. Some discs, most discs become a little more understable as they get beat in. These ones tend to do it quicker, as far as once they start getting a little understable, they're going to really flip hard. So those are three of the discs that are they might not be available for anyone watching this in the future. Definitely check back with the Quadruped and see what they approve for that. But the winningest disc that I have found for me, and there's a reason why I love this disc, is the Air 235. And I've been using this thing for a very long time. And only on certain occasions will I bust out an Xtra 235. For me, the Xtras tend to flip a little bit more when the air is not quite so strong of a tailwind, where the Air is a very stable flying disc, no matter what the conditions are. You have a little crosswind, you have a little bit of a tailwind. This thing is just going to fly straight every time. It's very easy for me to predict how much hyzer I need to put on the disc, and it takes the torque very well. Grip-wise, it's that Air plastic. I love that plastic, the feel of it. It's very similar to, with the heavier discs, like the Star type plastics. That's my favorite feel on a plastic. You got to find one that you like the way it feels. But for me, the main reason why I throw this is because of the flight. When this comes out of my hand, I tend to drive my throws. There are people that loft them a little bit more. So as I drive the throw, not quite as high as maybe some other people, it tends to just kind of flip up, ride, maybe going a little bit off to the right for me, and then it tends to come back slowly and drop. Nice and level and easy for my dogs to make the catch. When the air picks up and that wind is moving fast, that's when I move to the extra distance. If I have a good bit of tailwind, this is the disc that I will pull out. Now, last year, and even a little bit maybe the year before, I did pull out because they were more readily available, the Xtra Freestyle, and I actually won a few events with the Xtra Freestyle. So the plastic, it holds up, it flies well. The main thing with these is, the distance for the Freestyle is the way it feels in your hand. The Freestyle is a little bit slipperier, so on those days when it was just a little bit more humid, it didn't really hold in my hand very well. The moisture in your hand just tends to stay there, and that disc will fly out a little quicker. So the distance is a little grippier for those situations. But for me, I put a lot of torque on my throws. My throws are based off of at least my long distance throws is more based off of a golf disc technique versus maybe some other type of technique to throw. And so I tend to drive my disc more like a disc golfer would. And for me, the Xtra It's good with a tailwind, but for me, it tends to flip over just a little bit too much when I try and drive that disc. That's why I choose the Air 235. Quad Series has already begun when this video has been recorded, but the next one will be happening here in Ohio, and I hope to see you out there on the quad field. Good luck, grip and rip, have fun, and play with your dog.